There's the foot doctor, and he's talking about the memory of getting LBJ's shoe. Like that's such a big deal. Like a big figure like LBJ, and you got to have his feet, or his shoes, and you get to keep them forever.
Yeah.
That's like a story a grandparent would tell, like a grandson, like so excited, like, I met LBJ, I met Neil Armstrong, and he gave me his shoes.
And this guy, he just walked up,
Yeah.
and said, "Hey, can I have your shoes?"
Yeah.
And then Johnson was like, "Write to me." Like some sort of paramour in a foreign war looking for a scent of the perfume of the loved. And then he mailed them.
Yeah.
He mailed them.
That was, a sign of how good politics were. You could ask the president for his shoes, and he'd give them to you eventually.
That's literal retail politics.
Trust, yeah.
I'm like, excuse me, Joe Biden, can I have your last adrenochrome? Write to me. Why are we talking about president's shoes, and why is there another masculine voice on the pod? Well, I'll tell you why. I am being joined by my friend Matt Rich.
Thank you, AP.
He is he's one of those people that cares about politics and what's happening around them. But more importantly, he's a cyclist. That's right. I found another cyclist in Chicago to put on mic.
And friend of the podcast.
We gotta milk that friendship now.
Yeah.
Because once you become an enemy of the podcast, the vitriol, the anger you'll be dropping.
Yeah. It's a burden to bear. An enemy of the podcast.
I do know you as someone who is focused on local politics and national politics. You're also someone who deep interest in things. And one of those is what we're going to be talking about. David Letterman.
Yes.
I called you up and I said, Marcy's on PTO. And I'm like, okay, well, I never get PTO. Whatever.
Pay, you gotta submit all the paperwork for the off time hours.
And the fucked up thing is that she set up the system. And somehow I always get rejected.
You have to call up HR, who I think
which
Marcy
she
as well.
also is. And the CEO and the COO and the trust holder. Marcy is on PTO because we're at the end of the year here. And I called up Matt and I said, okay, so the things we both like: cycling, weird facts about presidents, and just entertainment, a variety of entertainment being slopped together into one format. And that actually fits perfectly with David Letterman.
Yeah. It was a different time. I guess late night from the early 80s till now, went through a lot of transformations, much like, I guess, just media in general. But we'll go into it a bit. But the format there with... a lot of times they could do whatever they wanted, but of course, same format of an interview, maybe a band performing, maybe stand-up. It all worked very well within that no limit sort of thing.
Yeah. What is your history with David Letterman?
So I'd been growing up, it's another late night show. I really liked, of course, new hip bands and things like that, and they're always trying to get onto late night to get that performance and things. So I'd see videos like that after the fact, the day afterwards, because I'm not staying up to see the late show. I got school in the morning. But maybe Animal
He had
Collective.
a bedtime and he kept it.
Yeah. Well, usually. But something like that, that's a good way to break into it because people want to see the band. But then there's always other things after the fact, like big celebrity interviews afterwards, moments of controversy. I'm not tuned into politics at all at that time, so I'm not watching him for him to interview Kerry or Bush or anything like that, or Bill O'Reilly or anything like that. But I can remember the very next day at school after the Michael Richards interview, and that's all students were talking about because this is, just to explain that, a comedian from Seinfeld, Michael Richards, played Kramer.
He had a very famous breakdown.
Outburst. He said quite a few things. We're not going to go into it, but he says he canceled himself, which that's taking a modern term and applying it back.
I love it. I love setting up a bear trap, stomping on it, and saying how good I am at catching things.
Yeah. But the nature of that interview with Michael Richards after the outburst, after the entire nation is like, oh my God, he said this? Because that's primitive YouTube, like just the clip getting online and people hearing all that hate speech from the Laugh Factory Comedy Club. Letterman kind of executes that perfectly. He has Jerry Seinfeld with him to help organize an apology and has Michael Richards on a TV screen next to it. And Letterman, of course, is teasing a bit because there's humor in it. There's a dark humor in it. He's got to get that out for the audience. And he's got to corral Seinfeld, who's like exploding with anger at the audience, who understandably knows this is funny.
He's like, I'm worth more than all of you. And everyone in this building respect me.
It's not funny. It's not funny. But of course.
So you were in high school and like y'all were talking about this?
Yes. Yeah. It's impossible to ignore because this was, I admit now on the internet, like there's a million viral moments, but no one's focused on the exact same thing. So maybe that's a final moment of like, okay, there's enough people focused on this media event. There's enough people that watch the Super Bowl this year. There's enough people that are watching early YouTube that there's still this singular focus.
Yeah, I get that. So it's a pretty like general interest in. Like you weren't hyper fixated. You weren't like, no. I know everything about David Letterman. I know everyone that's written on it. But talking about the music in it, fans of this podcast, all 68 million of you, are
and a half.
Yeah, are familiar that I love music videos, and David Letterman would have a lot of musical performances, and I would watch those over watching some music videos because some of the music videos just sucked. Like Vampire Weekend had a fun one. Saint Vincent had a very good one back when she was working with David Byrne. It was good. It was a good time. The early days of YouTube, finding that music.
Yeah. Without a doubt. For me, I admit, I eventually saw him live at the Ed Sullivan Theater with my sister and I when we were on a trip to New York City, which was very impressive. It was a lot all at once because it happened so fast. It is like almost filmed in real time from that theater. It's not filmed at 11:30 p.m. They film it at like 2 p.m. so he can go to bed. He's asleep by the time the show is playing on TV. And it's mostly been that way.
You and David Letterman have the same bedtime.
Sleep schedule, yeah. Well, I used to, but...
but when I was talking to you about this, like, one of the things that you brought up is you've been watching a lot of these older episodes of it. And I really only came about David Letterman. He was one of the only late night talk show hosts that I would watch. It was him and Craig Ferguson. That's about it. No Lena for me. No, what's that guy that always had a 30-minute block? He was also attached to music. That's how little I watched it.
Corden.
Yeah. No Corden either. Yeah. But so like going back to watch some of these, and I have all 3 episodes linked below. They're on YouTube. It really just shows how much, how different, and how the exact same entertainment has been for the last 40 years.
That level of experimentation early on, because that's what had drawn my interest in looking backwards. I admit talking about the modern things I saw and seeing it live right before The Late Show was handed over to Stephen Colbert. Being familiar with that's very straight-laced, but to see those 80s clips, those 80s shows, like just the level of experimentation they could do was impressive. Of course, the episodes that he's referring to involve number of things, putting things in a hydraulic press,
Which is so funny.
very TikTok.
The hydraulic press channel
Yeah.
existed 40 years before.
Yeah. Cans of shaving cream, cans of ham, a lamp, an alarm clock, whatever. It's going in.
No slime, which is like no Zoomer would watch it. Well, no Gen Alpha, I should
And no
say.
ASMR. You have to wait. There's some other format for that.
Yeah, that level of pervertry hadn't been accepted yet.
No.
You can only be a foot doctor that collects presidential shoes back then.
Yeah. Or, of course, that's a great example. Let me see. That or doing a whole episode that's been completely overdubbed again. An episode with 13 cameras or... Oh, what was the other example that we had?
I mean,
guest hosts. He's standing in the other chair. He's got his staffers hosting and interviewing the guest.
Yeah,
just whatever they can think of, it can happen.
He probably broke some like entertainment like regulations, being like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm not gonna give this random worker of mine, a talent fee.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna get them to."
They didn't have internships yet, but this is part of like, already been hired as staff, so staff can do this. Staff can interview the guest.
So you mentioned the experimentation there, and that is something I took a lot of notice in. So the first episode I wanna mention here is this episode that was recorded in the Milford Plaza.
Mm-hmm.
So this was just they picked out a suite.
A hotel in Times Square, to be specific.
Yeah. And they crammed the entirety of the tech and also...
Small rooms.
Yeah, and also all the people that run it into this one room with a couch and a chair, and Letterman just had his normal show there. But throughout all of this, he's kind of running around, just showing off the hotel.
Knocking on people's doors.
Which I love.
The wallpaper. Yeah. Bringing a man from Albany on a trip to be a part of the show.
Just some guy.
Yeah.
The way that he talked about his job, I was like, oh, this guy's a spy. This guy's
no
like...
wife, no... Well, he didn't bring him with him, yeah.
And throughout this was the first episode I saw of this. And actually, it a couple of things jumped out at me. And one of them is Letterman is kind of being... He's being a knave to everyone.
Yeah.
To everyone, from knocking on doors, he would knock on doors and say, and like, come out.
Yeah.
He would also like talk about some of the food not being that great.
Yeah, the room service gets the order wrong and everything, and they call up steak sandwiches, the burgers, cheese and crackers for 100 people they try and order. Hilarity ensues.
Yeah, and he puts his 3 guests just into a closet.
Yeah.
And outside of that, he's just kind of like just poking fun at everything.
I looked at the Google reviews for this hotel afterwards just to see what guests think of the rooms, and the same complaints now or then apply now. People say the rooms are too small or room service was too slow. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah, in the way that it. Before it was amusement, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we're being a little kooky here.
Yeah.
Now we could just say this is a vlog. He just vlogged his stay at a hotel.
Yeah. But I do like that sort of. That's the sort of experimentation. This is like taking that celebrity and not putting them in a traditional talk show. Like the windows are open behind them. There's like cold air blowing in. There's like the vent. Of course, the radiator's running, so it's like hot and cold in this room, just like pulsating everywhere. Everyone's a little slightly uncomfortable. That camera crew is all crammed in that back room. The band is where the bed should be, so it's tight space. Like the band is directly behind the guest's head. That sort of thing.
And and he just sits down, this guy from Albany, just right at the end of table at that suite. And it just like it runs so experimental, and it's also, maybe you should say, it's incredibly casual.
Yeah.
Like the amount of people there, the amount of equipment there, and the amount of talent there. You would say, okay, well, there should be some professionality there. You can't have a show in 2024 where there's like that tinge of wildness, of weirdness, of casualness. Everything needs to be scripted out. Everything needs to be dropped at specific markers. I think about all the like Netflix live attempts. The most recent one being the Paul versus Tyson fight.
Yeah.
And how
very manicured.
Well, yeah, it was manicured, except the tech. The tech just sucked. No one. A lot of people were not able to watch it. And I sit here just at kind of like at a little bit of an awe of how casual everything is.
The another big difference between then and now, with modern talk shows, a lot of that is scripted ahead of time. Like they call and talk to the production manager to work out the exact questions, the exact responses. So while there are still funny bits now, the reason why nothing grows off the rails and everything is very tight, it's all been worked out in advance.
Yeah.
The celebrity's publicist made sure what would be said and not said.
I watched a lot of like Julio Torres's appearances in different late night shows, specifically one at Fallon, and the way that Fallon was just like almost just saying, "Hey, we pre-talked about this. Can you tell me about speaking in Spanish? Making the show in Spanish?" And I'm just like, "What? Oh, there was no like love for the craft." Yes.
Yeah, it's not a casual conversation. It's a script.
If Fallon ran into a man from Albany in a hotel, like he would not invite him back to his room like Letterman did.
He'd say, "Get out of the way."
And you know what? I'm going to say it, homophobic.
Yeah. Or Fallon would do a skit like that, but it'd all be worked out in advance, Or he'd just recreate a music video with Paul Rudd or something. It wouldn't even be.
Yeah, he would just steal somebody else's like
ideas.
Concept.
Yeah.
And I kind of like this episode a lot.
It goes a lot of places.
It goes
entertainment, politics, the foot doctor.
The foot doctor
obsessions.
Is wild to me. I just I can't.
Podiatrist. Sorry, that's more formal.
One of the things that I struggle with in the modern world is I feel like I'm not like hyper fixated on anything.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, I'm hypo fixated on a lot of things. Like, I enjoy doing a lot of different things, but the idea of collecting. Like I'm just gonna go ahead and say trinkets.
Yeah,
that is just so not me. I'm not a collector of anything. I got 0 Funko Pops on me.
No. Christmas ornaments. While we're in the holiday season, that's a very nice sort of trinket.
I mean, even in this time, like a lot of people like to collect vinyls, which is nice. But like I have maybe a handful of vinyls. I've listened to it. I've had hi-fi. Well, I shouldn't say hi-fi systems. I've had record players before. But the idea of collecting anything is just so outside of my norm.
Yeah, because when would you show it off besides on a show like this or when a friend comes over?
If you went to somebody's house and they were like, "Can I show you my shoe collection? Do you want to see LBJ's shoes? He wore a size 11.5. You would run.
Yeah. Or I'd be like, well, maybe put this in the museum. I don't know. Maybe they want it. Maybe they don't.
Yeah. And it does go a lot of different places. I like that. I like the variety of that.
The also we'll get to Hunter S. Thompson later, but the first interview with Carly Simon that's very casual, just about her music career, where it's going, what she likes to do with TV, and then that very nice performance. I don't know, good to have a musical performance in the middle of the show, because in the future they'll always wait till the very end, just to close everything.
Mm-hmm.
I like the musical break in the first third. Because why not? Yeah.
She did a great song. And I love that they brought Letterman brought up "You're So Vain."
Yeah.
And because that's
her for that song, or like that song. That is her song.
Yeah. Well, one of the things is that
Yeah.
a lot of people know that it's about Mick Jagger.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he was trying to
draw
at
something
that.
out. Yeah.
I think that's kind of where the jerkness, the assholishness of Letterman really shows. He's interested in just saying some weird shit and seeing what happens. But we did talk about but Hunter S. Thompson was in this.
The nature of that, thinking of larger changes too. Of course, The Late Show now with Colbert, it's all politics all the time. He doesn't even need a political guest. The monologue at the beginning is about what happened the night before, what happened the day before in Washington. That's the whole thing. With Thompson and just having him as a guest, and Letterman's kind of, just tell me what's going on the campaign trail. I heard Gary Hart dropped out, Biden dropped out. That's how old Biden is, by the way. He first ran for president in 87, 88.
Before he even started plagiarizing.
We were ever born, or any listener of this podcast was ever born. But yeah.
We have some centenarians out there.
But to have that if he's not on the show, then I guess I'm not thinking about politics at all. That sort of thing is so different now, where it's all merged together. That political part is the entertainment.
And that is one way that life has changed.
Yeah.
Of course, I didn't live in the 80s. Fortunately, but I do know that now it feels like politics. It's not that it's inescapable. It's that it is just another form of entertainment for a lot of people. And I personally despise that. Mm-hmm. We've known each other for a while.
Yeah.
Whenever we have conversations about what's happening, I feel like I'm almost always I hate having to know about this.
Yeah.
I hate having to think about this. I don't care about these drones in New Jersey.
Yeah.
It's New Jersey.
Yeah. That's the sort of thing a week from now, a month from now, that'll be forgotten. The drone, but other things like that, a pesky politician, someone, a public deviant, that's going to be around forever. There's no closure.
Look, my heart goes to out all the public deviants. As someone who could never, those are shoes I could never fill.
Yeah.
Those are podiatrist shoes.
Too much attention, too. I don't want to.
But Thompson in there, the conversation that Letterman and Thompson were having was pretty much a kind of, it was going nowhere fast.
Yeah, because there's not so many eventful things. A guy, Gary Hart drops out for having an affair. Oh, Biden drops out for plagiarizing a speech. Okay, what's done is done. All right, well, you're never going to think about them again. Well, maybe.
But Letterman's just throwing a question after question after
casual.
question.
It's not intense. It's not, in theory, there's nothing at stake. It's another election.
There's no real conversation. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what Thompson did, right? Mm-hmm. All he did was just swing around to Iowa and ask people what they thought about
the Democratic primary. Yeah.
But when
might as well be cheese.
Yeah. But that would be better.
Yeah.
They
think about cheese more then than they do about politics.
Ugh. Yeah, we got to go back. Return. I looked up what Thompson was writing during this time, and he had this very interesting quote about Joe Biden. He said, "Joe Biden, if I'd been Biden, I wouldn't have pulled out. I'd have told them, what's so terrible about stealing from Bobby Kennedy? writers are defined by their taste in thievery. And I'm like,
I don't know if Biden is eloquent enough to say something like that. Right, Mac. Writers are defined by the taste in thievery, or whatever. That's a bad Biden impersonation, but.
and I hate when I read that. I was just like, I mean, yes. I mean, one of the greatest thieves out there, Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
like yes, absolutely. And then I also thought about, oh yeah, of course, Bobby Kennedy or his like wasted, spoiled scion.
Yeah.
Robert Kennedy Jr.
RFK.
Our future vaccine slayer.
Yeah. No more fluoride in the water.
Oh my teeth are gonna love that. And I just thought, okay, so you're telling me literally almost almost 30 years ago. Or over 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh man, I almost 40 years ago, I can read about the same losers I'm reading about today.
Yeah, no closure. Everyone gets to stick around.
Same as it ever was.
Yeah.
And I that kind of hurt me a little bit. Just thinking about how I am stuck in a 80s rerun. Which the second episode we saw was a rerun episode.
Yeah. This is a very forward-thinking thing again. He's rewatching his own material. He's videotaping himself in the lazy boy seat, watching TV, eating popcorn, watching his own rerun.
He's pretty much just a Twitch streamer.
Yeah.
He's just like, watch this game trailer with
talking to chat.
Yeah.
Got his.
He's the centrist streamer that we never thought we needed.
He's
the idea of enjoying entertainment with somebody else in the same sphere as this. It was fun seeing it because the conventions of the modern day streaming or the modern day live show is so coded with internet concepts and languages that that the only that it's almost quaint to see how Letterman was approaching this. He would pop in as a floating head to talk about things every once in a while.
Critique himself, critique the stand-up set.
Critique Bob Hope talking about golfing.
Yeah, we don't need to go into depth about that interview. It is literally just that.
It's just golf.
An 80-year-old man talking about his life as a golfer, and he could be talking about comedy or anything else. I don't know.
And every day of the week, I would rather have Thresh than talk about golf. So
yeah, same.
But that kind of started like bubbling something in me. Like seeing this kind of out and about essence, live show, and then seeing this kind of like rerun special, like something in me was starting to like bubble. Like it felt like I was just watching things that I knew. And this is when I realized David Letterman's just a YouTuber. He was just born 50 years too early.
Yeah, the commentary later on in the episode is the hydraulic press, like we had mentioned earlier, which is just TikTok, YouTube repackaged.
It's exactly like what
Same
you would see
human
now.
impulse.
Yeah. Oh, I want to see something crushed. And yes, I do.
Yeah.
I do. Let me know if there's a live show of that.
Yeah, and after the commercial break, I'd like to see a band or something. It's a couple jokes.
Yeah, I'm a simple man.
Yeah.
Give me some coffee, give me some cookies, and give me a watermelon being crushed with a 5-ton hydraulic hammer.
Yeah. Exciting. It's a exciting routine. I admit, I got a lot of joy out of it. I missed one lamp they smash. I didn't say it. It's a clown lamp. Like it's a clown holding balloons and there's lights and everything. I miss furniture like that. I had family members that had clown lamps and things, and I miss it now. I didn't like it as a kid, but we return to clown furniture.
Yeah, clowns have such bad PR in the
Yeah.
21st century. Like most people hate clowns, I think.
Yeah.
Or some people love clowns like they shouldn't love clowns.
Yeah. People say uncanny valley when they see a clown's makeup and the clown's mannerisms, but that's neither here nor there.
Part of this podcast is kind of talking about the silliness or the
Entertaining.
the Latino
No dull moments. Yeah.
the Latino culture in 2024. I can assure you, you go to Mexico, you go to Puerto Rico, you go to Honduras, you go to Peru.
Yeah.
I bet you can find somebody in clown makeup on live
TV.
and TV still. Either just like a panel show
Yeah.
or like telling the news. And
It's a classic.
it's like centralized to the United States. The
Yeah.
United States hates, or the
Yeah.
Western Anglophone.
There's a psychological answer for that. We'll find out soon enough why. Maybe it? I don't know.
I don't know, but it is funny to see, like, me, someone who like actually saw clowns both in real life at like kids parties and stuff
Yeah.
that I used to go to as a kid, or like TV shows. Like I don't hate clowns like other people hate clowns.
It's a thing. It's a entertainment.
Yeah. But there are a lot of clowns on YouTube.
Yeah.
Clowns like you don't love them. Clowns like one of the things, seeing David Letterman be the entertainer that he was, kind of like stumbling into this futurescape of YouTube internet culture.
Yeah.
Like being
Clips get smaller and smaller.
being a jerk to everyone, kind of like roping in normal people, doing some silly things with equipment you need certifications for. Like,
Yeah.
I guess that's David Dobrik.
Yeah. The next bit right after that, they have a child create a dish and then present it to David, and they make banana cheese crunch, where it's banana, walnuts, and cheddar cheese. And that's also like a kids react sort of thing. Like, yeah, have a child make a food.
Or like right now, you could jump on any social media, scroll a little bit, and you'll see some of the worst food you've seen being presented joyfully.
People dumping boxes of cake mix in the toilet. It's bad. It's stark. TikTok is a bad place to learn how to cook.
Yeah. And so like the thing is, David Letterman isn't a jerk in 2024.
No, he's
Like everything that he's doing in 2024 feels kitschy. It feels cute even.
yeah, he's very well composed compared to a presenter now. Like in the 80s, like everything is runs smoothly. I don't know. He can hold a conversation.
Yeah, and which is like saying way more than a lot of these sweaty nerds on the internet.
Yeah, or coming back to the same gimmick
Present
every time.
company included.
Yeah. I'm not sweaty at all, folks. I'm very dry.
I mean, you and I, we spent a good amount of time on the internet. Like,
Yeah.
do you watch people like this? Do you watch like those kind of like fuck ass YouTubers that go around?
No,
like,
not very often. To the point where when that trend began, I remember other channels like, I guess reminiscent of like Jackass, but kind of like real life skits, they're breaking things. I guess I'm thinking of specifically, I'll just say the channels like iDubbbz and H3H3. There was a level like where it began to, I don't know, it wasn't as composable enough. Like, I'm not that interested in this. Like, oh, it doesn't hold my interest that much. Or, I don't know, it just seems very harsh for a number of reasons. Either the interview isn't as smooth as I'd like it to be, or the interview goes on way too long, or I don't know, or it just seems meaner than David Letterman, like you were saying. Like,
Yeah.
there's no nice guy stuff.
I never watched those guys. I am very famously Latino, Mexican, and donde está mi gente. So like
Chicago.
I always kind of like strayed from those,
Yeah.
under-melanated fellas talking directly into a camera. And I just like hearing those names that I haven't heard in forever.
Yeah, it's like
I can't think about it. It's just like them and like some more modern people, like even Mr. Beast, or like there's this like weirdo, loser that goes around to like every hotspot of like racist, sexist narratives. This guy named Tyler Oliveira. He goes just like he went to Haiti when the Haiti racism in the election was happening. Or wait, no, he didn't go to Haiti. He went to
Springfield, Ohio.
Yeah, he went to Springfield, Ohio.
Yes, that's where I heard the name from. Like, and that's a moment where like, okay, this whatever he says in this video, it's gonna go on for a few months. Someone's gonna quote this. Like, it's gonna be some either dumb or smart. Regardless, people are gonna repeat it. The president's gonna be on stage the next night saying what he heard on this video.
It was gross. I only watched one of those, one of his videos, and I think it was the Haitian stuff, and it's repulsive. It's repulsive seeing this guy and some of these other like, I'm smart and I'm delivering the like news that other people don't. It's so just repulsive to me seeing the like grandiosity they give themselves by just doing nothing but perpetuating the status quo. And also just being assholes through it. But assholes in a way that only someone that isn't brain broken, like us.
True.
Or like YouTube watchers.
Would think it was real.
Yeah.
Or, that's one thing that also makes me think about, okay, primetime TV in the 80s, filming this is a little expensive, so of course there's going to be editing. The audience knows it's been edited. It's for entertainment. The Tyler Oliveira video, that once again, somebody who's brain broken, they think, well, all of this is real. There's no way this was selectively edited. This has got to be real life because it appeals to my own impulses and bigotries right away. So why would I ever question it?
A lot of people don't.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't question it. And one of the things that has changed is how fewer people you need. In the episode at the hotel,
cameraman and a guy with a mic.
Exactly. That's all you need.
Yeah.
That's all you need. You don't need a separate room with like one guy that does the overlay graphics.
Yeah. And no funding from a TV station to produce it. Just go there.
It's just as long as you have a certain amount of tech that I'm literally looking at right now.
We got a good setup here.
You can just go somewhere and just like record some slop to throw it up on the internet. Remember to subscribe.
Click the bell or whatever.
Like when the amount the ease of use of technology has just delivered this mediocre Sargosa of like people all over the internet. So like looking at David Letterman and the things that he's doing, I am blasted with how much talent he has.
That he really took a lot of big risks and it paid off. Thinking of talking so much about how much things have changed, thinking about things that don't change at all. The episode ends with a stand-up set from Bill Maher, who's also a little too much in the public light, but not too many highlights. It's a pretty bad set.
He's a podcaster.
Yeah.
He has podcaster privilege.
I'll lay low. I won't hit him too hard. He complains about teens with blue hair back in '85. And he's only 29, and he's already... It's not changed at all.
Nothing. Literally down to the blue hair.
Yes. It's pathetic. It's really lame.
His whole set is about kids these days. Kids these days. You know? And then Now he's, I don't know, what, like
Yeah, you could turn on
68?
Yeah, kids these days.
You know
40
what?
years now and nothing new to say, no new realizations.
Let's listen to just a little bit of it.
He hasn't learned. We'll give it a good play.
But see, that's it. The hair is the key to the generation. Every generation wants to look different than their father. I had long hair because he had short hair. Now they have blue hair because we did long hair already. When I was in high school, long hair, my father thought this was so radical. I would come from school every day. He'd be sitting there and he'd go, "You know, that hair, I can't tell whether you're a boy or a girl." Oof. One time I just dropped my pants. I said, "Does this help?" And he said no, which hurt me deeply, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. You know, like back in 88, he was still just being transphobic.
Yeah.
And that sucks. Like, once again, it like this thorough, of course, like everything in the past leads to the moment, right? But like this level of like transphobia that now is transphobic. Like back then, it's just a small dick joke, right?
Yeah.
But now it's easily read as a jab at trans people.
Yeah.
And this episode also has another jab at trans people.
Yeah, the I guess the cue cards when it cuts away to commercial break.
It's some
Can't
like
tell the difference between,
yeah, it's about like saying just one-liner like non
About New York City,
sequiturs about that are happening in Times Square, which Times Square before a certain before the 90s, I think, or the mid 80s, used to just kind of be like
adult movie theaters, adult videotape
a
places.
cesspit.
Yeah.
I mean, one that I might frequent, but
The very first non-adult theme, or one of the big ones, was the Disney store when it came into Times Square. And people were like, "What the hell?"
hey, I just watched some smut with my friends. Let me go get a Mickey
kids,
Mouse
yeah.
plush.
Oh yeah, so you can come up with an excuse afterwards. I bought you this.
You were in Times Square again? It's the only place I could buy Disney merch. And bust.
Yeah. Strange world. I mean,
The final non sequitur in that is using two antiquated words for trans people. Antiquated words for 2024. There's still people that use those words, but I will not be repeating them.
It's been a long time since I've heard them used in any way like that at all.
And I was just like, what the fuck? Mm-hmm. Like, come on, man. Come on.
The much like politics becoming part of the cultural, I guess, issue like that, gay rights, trans rights. At that moment in time, it's like, well, if someone doesn't bring it up, then I guess I never think about it. Mm-hmm. So any sort of anti-trans movement now is like, well, I'm constantly thinking about it. Anybody who's plugged into anti-trans rhetoric it's constantly on their phone in their hand. There's no break. There's
nothing.
No off switch or anything.
Nothing. I mean, like in this election in 2024, like so many dumbasses in the lamestream media blame Kamala Harris losing on being advocates for trans rights.
Table scrap for just one part of the voter base.
A table scrap is generous.
Yeah. Somehow sunk this ship that had billions, hundreds of millions for a campaign, which is absurd.
She had $1 billion.
Yeah.
A bill. And she ended in debt.
Yeah.
And another one of those moments is that like this ad that ran, Trump is for you, and Kamala's for they, them. Mm-hmm. And so many people like in media just love to just smoke on that media pack. And just say that everything the media leads directly into a change in
trying to
society.
get a one-up on each other. Like, oh, I have the bright idea. I think she should have abandoned this group. She should have abandoned that group. We should have just focused on... We should have been pro-crypto.
Mm-hmm. Losers everywhere.
Yeah.
And
degrading to take advice from these people.
And I do kind of find it like cosmic that like Bill Maher is in the
Yeah. I
like,
was a Democrat.
transphobe.
I was. You pushed me out.
Yeah. Yeah, he heard that one joke in the 88 and he was like, what is this? Trans people? No.
Gotta hunker down, gotta.
So like we also watched the third episode where there was like
Guest hosts.
yeah, we're just like people
Very
in the
casual.
staff. Yeah, and that's kind of all I want to mention in it because
Yeah.
overall it's a
Good
little-
comic, George Carlin.
Yeah, and the guy that was like sitting in for Letterman as his like
Yeah.
replacement, Letterman still being there,
Yeah.
kind of ran through that in the least charismatic and interesting
Yeah.
way.
All monotone. He's a staffer. He's just a guy who does.
But the thing is, like the second one,
Yeah.
the second guest host, she was incredible.
Yeah. Very composed.
She was so good because she talked about she talked to this guy, this business.
It's effectively a scam. Like you send in money and they send you a few texts to learn a thing, and then they do like a ghost classroom in some place where they can book space to do
Yeah.
a 1-day course, a few-hour course on how to find a date, how to do a number of things.
Yeah,
How to fix a car.
The guy she was interviewing his name is Bill Sanker, and he created the Learning Index, which is exactly as he said, just kind of this. It's just masterclass, like
Yeah.
the website, or it's like Skillshare. It's just this idea that you can teach someone how to do something quickly. Oh, you just got to give me some money. One of them was how to eat a zucchini.
Yeah.
And
artichoke.
an artichoke.
Yep, how
That's
to
what-
land a plane. So, but back to the artichoke.
it's whatever. It's like they're so mundane, but some of them are like how to cheat.
Yeah.
How to cheat on your partner. And in that interview, like he mentions, you could learn this stuff over 3 classes, and all you have to do is pay $40 and you're good. $40 in 2024 is about $115.
Yeah.
And back then, this guy was running around doing this. And now we have all of these websites that teach you how to do things, but we also have the furtherance of it.
Yeah.
Of this guy was maybe he was hawking some bullshit classes about how to get laid or how to get a girlfriend. But now
There's like 8 guys like that.
there's a million of them. the in 2024, that's just Andrew Tate.
Yeah. I guess the more harmless ones, we got plenty of coding boot camps, which seems more practical.
No,
We got WikiHow, which is sometimes not totally helpful. Who knows what the darker classes were besides how to cheat on your spouse, how to handle rejection.
back in the 80s, you could have a guy teach you how to put on pants and a shirt. Now you just have a WikiHow with 12 different steps.
Anytime a person ties a tie, it starts with a Google search now. It doesn't. There's no way. No one does it instinctually anymore.
How to tie a full Windsor knot. First, go to www.google.com.
Search it. Scroll down a little bit. There'll be a few diagrams.
But this is where the kind of like Letterman being a jerk.
Yeah, is effective.
Yeah, because
A scam artist should be told they're running a scam.
they just brought this guy in to like fuck him. To like just be like, he's a piece of shit. And
What he's selling isn't worth it.
I love that.
Yeah. Now it'd be so self-selecting now. He wouldn't go on late night TV. He would go on a self-help podcast that was selling the same scam.
Yeah.
He
He would go on Joe Rogan.
It'd be a huge echo chamber, and that would be it.
And he'd make more money than you and I.
Yeah, quite a bit.
The wiki says that in 2007 that learning annex made $107 million.
Through the same thing, just selling the lessons.
And
Types of
that
things. I wonder, a long time ago, in the late 90s, they used to have ads where like they'd list brief courses someone could take, bookkeeping, any number of things, but it'd scroll up the screen and everything. I wonder if it was tied into that, if that was the learning annex. It's a professional wing of it.
Oh, maybe. Yeah,
Paralegal,
no PowerPoints.
bookkeeping. And then yeah.
How to cheat on your taxes.
How to file someone else's taxes.
How to drop off 20,000 illegal votes across 50 different states.
Yeah. I guess in the counterpoint, how to run a voting center.
Yeah. Just on November 5th, a lot of people were like, how the fuck do I run a vote?
Yeah. How do I? This line is so long.
Yeah. I really do believe that we live in a time of scammers and cheaters. Like, the only thing the United States really does anymore is scamming and cheating people. Maybe it's only ever done that, but it definitely only does it now.
Medical care gets souped up with a number of charges and 5 different middlemen in between to like exaggerate costs. Same thing with the housing industry.
Housing insurance, yeah. Florida, you can't get a house insurance without giving up your firstborn.
Yeah.
And they'll take it.
Yeah, they will. And the house isn't coming back either. Oh, like that, where like policy of where people can and can't live is now determined by purely private industry. Like the state doesn't intervene to offer up flood insurance or anything like that. It's just at someone else's discretion. There's some other boardroom.
Yeah. It's just whoever could scam the most eloquently. Whoever could go from the scamming boardroom to the scamming gala.
Yeah.
You're perfect for the modern age. And so let's talk about the modern age.
We watched Our Next Guest Needs No Introduction, hosted by David Letterman. The guest was, who needs no introduction, John Mulaney.
Chicago's very own.
Comedian, writer.
And late of this
I've never
parish.
seen anything he was in. I've never seen Big Mouth.
I've seen Big Mouth and
The Nick Kroll Show.
I've also seen the Nick Kroll Show. But as listeners know, I'm not the biggest fan of John Mulaney. Not because
Olivia Munn's husband. Or boyfriend? Celebrity gossip, I don't follow.
Olivia Munn took one class at the Learning Index.
And she did very well. She's teaching it next year.
How to baby trap. And which is good because John Mulaney was there learning how to cheat.
Yeah.
And
how to escape an intervention.
and this special was mostly about his stand-up, but also his like recovery from addiction, which is like great. Nothing really to mention here other than like looking at.
They go to St. Ignatius, back to his school.
Which I've never heard of. Like, I've lived here. I've been in that area a bunch.
Cycling moment. I think I've ridden past it. It's close to UIC, I think.
Yeah.
We got any St. Ignatius alumni listening in,
If you can afford St. Ignatius.
They're not listening.
We do have donations.
Click the link.
And, yeah, because I think... I looked it up. It's $20,000 a year. Like John Mulaney, his recovery, beautiful story. Very happy for him. The kind of getting to know him as like a kid and like growing up in Chicago. I realized that I did not grow up in the same Chicago that he grew up in.
Tale of Two Cities, or 3 or 4.
Yeah,
5. 2.5 million stories.
That's right. And I did not have I was not a child to like some corporate lawyer. Yeah,
so insulated.
Yeah.
His dad, of course, goes off to work for a while, comes back. I guess, absentee in a way, but the nature of the relationship is just paying for the household, paying for the stability, paying for the school.
paying for having dinners at John Barleycorn,
which I'd never barleycorn, which I thought was. I got it mixed up with Charlie Trotters. They both. One sounds nice. One sounds like John Barleycorn.
Neither sound good.
They might as well be Chuck E. Cheese.
If you call me up and say we're gonna go to Charlie Trotters, I'm like, I don't want to eat that many pork rinds.
But you're right. I guess his vision of Chicago, his school days, not sterile is the word, because it sounded like he got into trouble quite a bit. Or
it's moneyed.
Yes, moneyed substance abuse, which is insulated still.
Which, like, I mean, it's insulated. Yeah. It's like, of course, drug abuse is one of very common in the United States. And like what he was talking about throughout it, I was just like, okay, this is not exactly my experience, but I feel for him. It seems like he's in a better spot. And throughout all of this, I did notice how Letterman is kind of gone. He's more
hands off.
Yeah, he's completely voiceless throughout.
Yeah, it has a podcast interview format where there's just space for Mulaney to speak and really take the narrative, drive it, direct it. More space, not so many questions, just a few questions, and then with very large open answers. And no commercial break, so it just runs on.
And Mulaney feels it.
Yeah.
He definitely talks through it. Like, of course, he's a stand-up, right?
Yeah.
And actually, you're right. It does read so much like a podcast because it's cheap.
Yeah.
It's cheap to make this.
Don't need to build a set.
No, they filmed at the Den Theater, which is a nice theater here in Chicago. Yeah. But it's not, it's not the Radio City Music Hall
or anything like that. Not the Ed Sullivan Theater. No renovation costs. Just be there and record.
Just some chairs.
Yeah.
Some lighting, maybe.
His family in the audience.
And throughout this, it's once again, it's that feeling of like, I've seen this. This is just vlogging. This is just internet style documentarian. I'm just walking with someone. We're just chatting about things.
That is the influence, I guess, of YouTube on the talk show instead of when it was the opposite, where it's the talk show influencing YouTube.
Right. And because in that it is because it is way cheaper.
Yeah.
To like ape the YouTube style than to try to be creative.
Yeah.
To try to be creative in the way that he used to be in the 80s.
Yeah, I guess there are examples I think of online where I see things out of the ordinary, and I still believe that talk show format could work as long as the host is good, and as long as there's that element of like, okay, well, let's try something new instead of bringing out, instead of like, well, we're going to interview some TikTok stars tonight. They eat Costco food. That's their claim to fame. So every level, it's like not interesting. Every level, it is like just this bad repeat again and again.
I would way rather have a man that collects presidential shoes than someone that got famous because they eat Costco food.
Yeah, eating Costco. I'm not even worth saying their name. You know who we're talking about.
I don't.
I'd rather the presidential podiatrist. And those people still exist. They're just not on the late night show.
Yeah, they exist on their own YouTube or as a future guest of mine.
Yeah.
And I it kind of breaks me a little bit. I'm not the type of person that's like the past used to be better.
Yeah.
Far from it. But seeing how much capital and profit seeking has actually grabbed everything at every level, that the idea, that podiatrist, we're making fun of him, but that guy was there in New York for 7 days or 5 days.
Yeah.
Just in a hotel because he was always pushed back as a guest.
Yeah.
The idea of a talk show in 2024 or almost any production house doing that for just some random
Yeah. Would be
3
insane,
minute,
yeah.
4 minute, 5 minute guest. It's just financially, it's not possible. Or it's not financially smart.
Yeah. It wouldn't be in the budget. They would always cut things down. Or they just have him broadcasting live or something.
Or
through
it would be
video.
a Zoom call. Yeah.
Yeah. There'd be no glamour to it. There'd no human element.
It would be lost to just whatever's fastest and cheapest.
On that note, thinking about the formatting of the interview and cutting from long form interview with Mulaney, talking to the kids at St. Ignatius, then cutting to they actually bring in the dad from the stand-up bits. That could have been edited, could have been worked in to be very funny, but the moment I saw the dad at dinner with them, I thought like, okay, this is harsh. Okay, this is a serious interview. There's no jokes here. That's how I felt when I saw that. We're like it's a confrontation.
But Letterman wasn't even harsh.
No, not at all.
He talked about this story that Mulaney talks about in the stand-up about
the McDonald's.
going to McDonald's.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the dad's just kind of like, it just happened. There is no...
I remember that.
There's no artistry. There's no creativity.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, that could have been worked in, like, oh, we could make this absurd. We could really have the dad play into the comedy, but it's just another part of his memory bank, just another part of, like, well, do you recall this? What's the recollection?
Which to him was just kind of another day.
Yeah.
Why did he think it was harsh?
Oh, just because maybe, well, the nature of the joke initially, it's his life, you can find a lot of humor in relapsing in interventions and things, or find a lot of humor in a funny childhood memory that can be unpleasant, that can be pleasant, depending on the viewpoint. But then, I guess, to bring the dad there felt like, I guess, bringing all this to his attention, I guess. Not in a way like, oh, isn't this funny? Like, oh, don't you see the humor in any of this? Or like when he brings up earlier in the interview, like his dad, like, oh, so what's the end game here? You're going to be Steve Martin? Like, it really seemed like the dad thought comedy was or at the time thought it was really bad. Like, it's not being recalled just because of the format of the interview, like, not for the sake of humor, but just for the sake of, like, recalling an unpleasant memory.
Yeah.
Like, it's just testifying, I guess. That's how I felt about that. Whereas if you had that same interaction on that late night show in the 80s, you'd be like, so your dad, thought it was a joke. Like, it immediately segues into, like, okay, this is very light. There's a lot of brevity to this. Whereas with that Netflix format, okay, no, this is all serious. We got 1080p cameras. We got HD cameras in here and everything. This is real. There's consequences. I don't know. That's how I feel about it.
And it, like, that, the dad came in
Maybe it
after,
needs a laugh track.
just becomes British TV.
Yeah.
And the dad came after the sister just answered one question at the Den Theater in this podcast interview. Like, and that felt way more alive than the father, the segment with the dad. But through all of this, through everything, all I could feel was, this isn't a conversation.
No, yeah,
this is like John Mulaney gives more in-depth answers in, like, interviews that I read earlier this year.
Yeah.
In preparation for the the Richard Pryor episode.
Yeah.
That is also kind of funny. Like, throughout his whole career, from the 80s at least to 2024, it always feels like Letterman is never digging deep into anything.
Either for time constraints or just for the sake of what the show should be, like, just to be entertaining. Back to putting comedians and making them address certain things. Comparing Mulaney addressing substance abuse, his childhood, comparing the two, making Michael Richards address an outburst on live TV. It's the same motivation, like, okay, well, let's get through this. Just say what you need to say, and 10 minutes will go. Well, I guess Netflix, there's no commercial, but with the Michael Richards thing, okay, 10 minutes, we're going to go to commercial. Just say it now.
Yeah. I think in a different reality, Letterman could I think has the internal like entertainment drive that kind of makes you soulless in the back of your eyes, the same way that Mr. Beast is.
Yeah.
Like Letterman could have probably been a great YouTuber if he was born, 60 years later.
His once again, many things predicting YouTube. Another element that he did on later shows, him doing Taco Bell and McDonald's pranks, like he's running the drive-thru. That's Mr. Beast. That is a YouTuber. They do that word for word.
That was literally YouTube.
Yeah.
From 2014 to 2017.
Oh yeah, people love McDonald's. People love Taco Bell. We're gonna prank them. But at least with Letterman, it's actual real people that are getting pranked and not having it all constantly pre-planned.
One of the general feelings I have about the 2020s, and especially as we're at the final blinks of 2024, my biggest feeling about this decade is that there is no room for people to
experiment.
No, not even experiment, but there's no room to say, I'm being new. I'm being just, I'm not being referential to anything. And and especially when in the creative sphere, making money is algorithmically influenced, deeply influenced.
It's all a venture capital front.
That if you want to make money on one of these social medias, you have to play the game, the algorithmic game. And there's just a staleness to so much.
Much like AI, which seems to be like the logical conclusion of all this, so much content is just motivated to be, well, give people what they already know they like. Don't give people what they don't know they like. Give them what's already familiar. Reconstruct that Squid Game set. Have people build a real-life Roblox house. Engage people with how much they love Minecraft. Well, we're just going to do Minecraft videos all day to drive engagement. Because people already like this. It's very safe.
Yeah.
It's dead.
It is what I learned to do with SEO. It is all just how many keywords can you cram into some paragraph that to a human reads like gibberish.
Search engine optimization.
But to an algorithm crawling through this says, hey, this person needs to know how to tie a cravat. Or like if you look up at a recipe, it's all just like bullshit. Do
you ever read an anecdote before a recipe online?
Never.
I read a few. If I make the recipe more than twice, then I read the story in the beginning. Like,
do you
I like this dish a lot.
Do you come out as a better person after?
No. I learn about their parents or something. Or
you're like, I'm one step
my
closer
kids
to
love this dish.
Oh, you don't say.
Well, I hope so.
Source?
You're making food they don't. This is the banana cheese crunch.
I am going to go ahead and say that I knew a little bit of David Letterman, but revisiting him through this just makes me feel like the state of things just fucking blows.
To put it specifically with talk shows, of course, I trashed Jimmy Fallon enough. I don't need to go there, but the Late Late Show is finally over, which was the show after Late Show with Letterman. It ended with Corden, which James Corden, I could say more about him, but the Late Night with Seth Meyers no longer will have a live band, so everything is actively downsizing.
Whoa.
Yeah. So all the costs are declining and everything. I admit there's some halfway point between that format and Twitch that could get a big enough audience to keep that format going, but I know maybe a TV station, maybe venture capital doesn't want to fund that sort of thing, so there's no room to do anything new.
There probably isn't. Not in the way that it used to be. But in the way that the larger economic forces are making things,
Yeah.
It's all just boring.
Yeah.
It's boring. Like
Give me what I already want.
the Netflix show, I literally did not want to watch any other episode.
Yeah.
I watched this in the first one that I saw a long time ago with Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Yeah.
That's it. Those
I
are the
watched
only
the
ones.
Kanye one before
Before you became a really
big.
big fan of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I only listen to his new stuff. I don't even remember.
You're like 2020 Kanye? Oh,
Life
shit
of-
wild.
Pablo.
I want to
But Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
I want to thank you, Matt, for bringing Letterman to me again.
Too much content to ignore. Too significance early on to ignore. It's really
so much.
Yeah. But thank you again for letting me chat.
I appreciate you joining me.
Absolutely.
Marcy is probably enjoying some Mai Tais in Bora Bora.
I'm just having a good time.
Probably
Maui Wowies.
Yeah,
A little bit of a nutmeg, Tom and Jerry with rum and coffee.
exactly.
The sky's the limit.
If I know her, I know she loves to drink the exact same way a retired Floridian does.
Enjoy yourself, Marcy.
I want to thank you, listener. 2024 has been a wild year for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a wild year for the podcast too, and for everyone.
Yeah.
Frankly, 2025 is looking as dim as always. I will be in 2025 with Marcy, and we will continue to deliver the Dove weather. You can find us on Instagram, YouTube, Blue Sky, and your mom's phone under Dove Weather. Thank you so much. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Odd Lang Syne.
Bye-bye.